Don't be too surprised when you see animals doing things that sound like they belong in a cartoon. Sometimes nature throws the rulebook out the window, and these real-life stories prove it. Here are top 10 craziest animal friendships and odd bonds ever recorded. From gorillas who ask for pet cats to snakes that keep hamsters as buddies, you're about to see a side of nature that defies every expectation. So, grab a drink, like the video, and subscribe for more animal-related contents. Let's start with Koko, a gorilla who has amazed the world with her ability to use American Sign Language. Koko wasn't just about learning signs, she made her own words too. For example, when she saw a ring, she called it a finger bracelet. Now, in 1984, Koko did something that really broke the natural mold. She asked her trainers if she could have a pet cat. She picked a small gray kitten and named it All Ball. Koko cared for All Ball just like she would a baby gorilla, nursing it, cuddling it, and showing true affection. But as life can be cruel, a tragic day came when All Ball was hit by a car. The loss hit Koko hard. She used signs for sad and frown to tell everyone how much she missed her friend. Even though she had more pets later, the story of All Ball reminds us that animals, like people, feel love and grief in deep ways. Themba and Albert, an elephant and his woolly friend. Our next story takes us to South Africa, where a young elephant named Themba had a very rough start in life. When Themba was just a baby, his mother tragically fell to her death. With no one to care for him, fell into the hands of kind rangers at the Shamwari Reserve. To help Themba cope with loneliness, the rangers introduced a sheep named Albert into his pen. At first, Themba thought it was fun to chase Albert around, but soon enough the two became close friends. They could often be seen sleeping together, offering each other comfort through their unlikely bond. Unfortunately, when the time came to prepare Themba for life in the wild, Albert was moved out, and before Themba could fully join his herd, he fell victim to a disease of the intestine. Even though Themba's story has a sad ending, Albert the sheep stayed at the reserve, a gentle reminder of the deep connections that can form even when nature seems to be against it. Owen and Mzee, a hippo and a tortoise. Next up, we have Owen the hippo, a survivor of a massive tsunami in Kenya. Separated from his parents by a giant wave, little Owen was rescued by wildlife rangers and taken to an animal sanctuary in Mombasa. It might have seemed like a hopeless situation, but then came along a twist of fate. Owen was placed in a habitat with a 100-year-old tortoise named Mzee. Instead of seeing Mzee as just an old reptile, Owen treated him like a parent. The hippo would lick Mzee's face, bathe with him, and sleep close by. It was as if Owen saw Mzee as his own guardian. Typically, young hippos stay with their mothers for about 4 years, but Owen's bond with Mzee lasted until 2007. This friendship shows us that sometimes nature lets different species form bonds that are as real as any family connection. A goose and a deer, unexpected protectors. In a place you wouldn't expect, a cemetery in Buffalo, New York, nature once again rewrote the rules. At Forest Lawn Cemetery, a Canadian goose decided to build her nest inside an urn. Now, that might not be so strange by itself, but then a deer showed up. Instead of ignoring the nesting goose, the male deer took it upon himself to guard her eggs. Whenever anyone came close, the deer would step in, protecting the nesting bird with a determination that seemed straight out of a fairy tale. For 3 weeks, this unlikely team worked together until the eggs finally hatched. Once the goslings were safe, the deer quietly wandered back into the forest, having completed his unusual job. This story reminds us that sometimes even animals we see as very different can step up for each other. Garant and Molly, the otter and the puppy. Over in Wales, another touching friendship took shape. A sea otter pup, abandoned on a building site, was rescued and brought to a wildlife reserve. The goal was simple: heal the otter and set him free. But before the otter, named Garant, could return to the wild, his handlers decided he needed a playmate. Enter Molly, an 8-month-old Labrador puppy. Despite their differences, the otter and the puppy quickly became best friends. They played together, splashed in the water, and shared many moments of fun. Molly helped Garant burn off all his extra energy and even taught him how to swim better. As Garant gets ready to be released, this unlikely bond stands as a testament to the fact that friendship knows no species. Cassie and Moses, the kitten and the crow. Imagine a tiny kitten wandering alone, looking lost and weak. This is exactly what happened on a Massachusetts property when a kitten, later named Cassie, wandered in a state of distress. The Colito family who found her were worried that the poor kitten might not survive. But nature had another surprise in store. A clever crow, later called Moses, took it upon himself to care for Cassie. Moses would bring her worms to eat and even guide her away from danger. This unusual act of kindness turned into a heartwarming story that soon became an internet sensation. Videos of Cassie and Moses together captured the hearts of many, eventually inspiring a children's book. This story shows us that even a crow, often seen as a symbol of mischief, can have a heart full of care. The trio, A tiger, a lion, and a bear. Sometimes the most unexpected friendships come from the most challenging situations. In Atlanta, during a dramatic police raid on a drug baron's house, a tiger, a lion, and a bear were rescued from a life of abuse and confinement. These cubs, who once lived in conditions meant to show off the owner's status, were brought to an animal sanctuary. Now, you might think that a tiger, a lion, and a bear would never get along. After all, they are all strong and have fierce reputations. But in the sanctuary, they became the best of friends. Even though each of these animals has a natural instinct for aggression, they spent their days playing together and sharing the same wooden shelter at night. Their friendship reminds us that when given a second chance, even the wildest creatures can learn to live in harmony. Charlie and Pacho, the capybara and the dog. Next, we travel to Peru, where we meet Charlie, a capybara, and Pacho, a friendly dog. Capybaras are the largest rodents in the world, and although they might look like giant guinea pigs, they are not really meant to be pets. Charlie was once kept as a pet by a local family, but after his rescue at a tourist lodge, it was decided he should be set free. However, Charlie wasn't ready to leave his new home, not when he had made such a special friend in Pacho. The two became inseparable. Pacho, a loyal dog, would always save Charlie when he went swimming too deep, while Charlie made sure to share his food with Pacho. Their constant companionship is a sweet reminder that sometimes the most unexpected friendships can change the way we see the world. Suryia and Roscoe, the orangutan and the dog. Our next tale comes from a sanctuary in South Carolina, where an orangutan named Suryia met a stray dog called Roscoe. Orangutans are very smart and do not like to be alone, so the keepers thought Roscoe could be the perfect friend for Suryia. And boy, did the pair take off. Suryia and Roscoe were soon seen doing all sorts of things together. The orangutan would even take the dog for walks on a lead around the enclosure, as if they were on a mini adventure every day. They swam together, shared playful moments, and even went on rides. Once they were even seen riding on the back of an elephant. Their bond was so strong that it inspired a book to help raise money for their sanctuary. It's a true example of how friendship can blossom in the most unusual ways. Aoan and Gohan, the snake, and the hamster. Last but not least, let's head to Tokyo, Japan, where a surprising relationship was forming at a zoo. Usually snakes are expected to make a meal out of small animals like hamsters, but at Tokyo Zoo, something very different happened with a rat snake named Aoan and a little hamster named Gohan. Instead of seeing the hamster as food, Aoan left Gohan alone. In fact, the two spent months together as friends, and the hamster even slept on top of the snake. The zookeepers were baffled at first, wondering if something was wrong with Aoan, but soon enough it was clear that this duo had formed a bond that defied natural instincts. Gohan's keepers even gave him a name that means meal, a playful nod to what one would expect, but the reality was that these two were simply friends. This unusual pairing became a hit with visitors, proving once again that nature sometimes writes its own script. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more animal-related videos.